Launching a business can take you on a journey unlike any other, filled with anticipation, uncertainty, and the constant search for answers. You're never quite sure what's coming next, which is why it helps to have a partner that does. Plan for the future of your business with the bank trusted by 50% of US-based, venture-backed tech and life science companies. Silicon Valley Bank, built for what's next.
Thank you to everyone who's joining our summit and this session, Technology's Race to Cure COVID. My name is Rico Malazzi, and I'm Senior Director of Go-to-Market Ops at Sapphire Ventures. I am very excited to have today's discussion with an executive from a company and on a topic that is at the forefront of the world's attention right now, developing a vaccine for COVID-19. With me today is Marcello Damiani, Chief Digital and Operational Excellence Officer at Moderna. Marcello, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Rico. Glad to be here.
Great. I'd like to start off the discussion by talking broadly about how technology has transformed the life science industry. When the first human genome was sequenced, it took 13 years and cost $1 billion. Today, we can do that in days and at the matter of cost of thousands of dollars. Can you tell us a little bit how technology has transformed life science industry?
Yeah, so Rico, if you look at it between proteomic, genomics, single cell sequencing in general, we're now able to go really at the molecular level in the cells to understand the biology and how things are working. And this has generated a wealth of data that the more and more we tackle and look at, the more we learn about our body and how it operates. So I think technology is key in the new generation of medicines that will be in the marketplace in the future.
That's excellent and exciting. And technology is transforming the life science industry, but so is Moderna. So can you explain a little bit about how your approach to therapeutics is different and what mRNA is?
Yeah, so we're a new generation of medicine. So we're typically in this section. So if you look at messenger RNA is what sits between your DNA and the protein that are produced in the body. So a messenger RNA is part of the central dogma of molecular biology. So your body produces messenger RNA billions of times during the day. They are the workhorse of our body. And what we do in Moderna is we instruct the cells with a messenger RNA to produce proteins, those proteins that your body has naturally, to prevent or cure diseases. So if you have a missing protein, we can produce this protein. In a vaccine setting, what we do is we produce antigens so your immune system learn how to protect you. So this is really what Moderna does. And with this, we have a number of applications in different therapeutic areas that we are progressing simultaneously into clinical trials.
Now that's interesting. And I know not only is Moderna taking a different approach to therapeutics, but also a different approach to how you build a pharmaceutical company. Moderna is the first pharmaceutical company born in the cloud, and that is digitally first. Can you explain how that is different than traditional pharmaceutical companies? How that makes you different? And then more importantly, what is the role of data within your organization?
Yeah, so there are multiple reasons why we decided as a strategy to build a fully digital biotech. First of all, if you look at it, messenger RNA is based on the 4 nucleotide letters in the like the DNA, and therefore it's information based. The second piece is that to be able to deliver multiple drugs in parallel with our platform, you need to be able to capture the learning and accelerate your learning. So what we decided from the beginning is really to focus on data and how data is going to help us understand the biology and help us as well accelerate our learning cycles, accelerate the quality of what we are doing. And this is why we went into building this digital biotech. And I would say what's different between us and maybe different big established companies is first we're starting from scratch in this new era where technology is it's very mature, and therefore we don't have any legacy, and we are starting from a green field, so we can build and shape technology to make the company a data-centric company, and this is what we've been building.
No, that's great. And I know, when you came and visited Sapphire Ventures about a year and a half ago, one of the themes we talked about was AI. And I know that's an initiative you're leading at Moderna, and specifically how you can put AI at the center of the drug design process. When we speak to a lot of executives, it's one of the top priorities for a lot of technology executives. So can you explain maybe some of the major learnings you've had or some of the challenges to implement AI in your organization? And then I also want to talk about potentially what's the role of explainable AI in an organization like yours where there's so much regulatory oversight in it?
Yeah, so in the AI setting, AI works with data. So what we focused on first is to make sure that we have the company fully connected and collecting this data. And you can only apply AI once you have a wealth of data that is structured in a way that you can exploit this data. So we've been collecting for now, I would say more than 5 years, a number of data. And we started in the research space because this is where the company is coming from. We were just 5 years ago a research company. And as we connected all the instrumentation, all our experiments into the information system, we've been collecting a wealth of data. So if you look at our scientists today, they go to a drug design studio, which is a web portal where we present to them multiple sets of databases, whether internally or externally, on messenger RNAs or on proteins. And with time, we learned from those databases and from how the scientists are designing and their sequences, what sequences can be optimized and how. And we built algorithmics and machine learning to help the scientists improve on the design of the sequences that they are working on. And once they finish, the scientists, they don't go to the lab and pipette their messenger RNA. We connected this to a central lab, which is fully automated. And in this central lab, we collect at every step of the process data that help us now, after years of data collection, in improving the production in preclinical setting. That means the production for research, and accelerate the pace of production, but as well accelerate the pace of research. Just give you an example, in 2015, when I joined, we were able to produce 40 separate messenger RNA for experimental purposes. Today, we can go up to 1,000 of those. So our scientists can do up to 1,000 parallel experiment should they want to. And not only the number of experiments has increased, but as well the quality of the sequences that they use has drastically increased because of the learning that we had.
No, I think that's amazing to see kind of that type of productivity gain. And I think one of the things you alluded to there is making sure you get data in a point where you can leverage it for AI. Because as we all know, bad data in is bad insights out. I want to kind of shift the conversation now to therapeutics and specifically COVID-19 and the vaccine. Can you talk a little bit about some of the technology and platform decisions you've made and how that's helping, the company of Moderna achieve developing a vaccine for COVID-19?
Yeah, so before COVID-19 started, we have built on the research side, we have built a fully digitized research space so we can improve the scientist work. So this is the first element that helped within the COVID vaccine setting, because when they went to start designing the new sequence of COVID vaccine, and remember, we only need the digital sequence. We don't need the virus, because messenger RNA is information based, and we instruct the cell in the body to produce the protein that is on the surface of the virus, and your body produce those protein, and your immune system will react against those, and therefore we're teaching the immune system how to fight against those proteins, which are the same on the virus. So what we've done is all this learning that we had on the research space, we applied it to COVID-19, which has accelerated the production of the research space for COVID-19. But what we've done as well before COVID came is we have built our manufacturing facility in Norwood, Massachusetts, in a fully paperless digital way, so we can collect and accelerate the production of messenger RNA, and this time for a clinical setting. And we use all this same infrastructure that we have built for other vaccine and other therapeutic area to accelerate COVID-19. So everything that was there and the data that we have collected had helped us accelerate COVID-19 vaccine. And I can give you two algorithms that are involved in the COVID-19. The one I discussed on the sequencing, and the second one I would say is around how you decompose a large structure of messenger RNA, because this is COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine is a large structure of messenger RNA into small pieces to be able to produce it efficiently and stitch it together. And this learning came from years of data that we have been collecting, and this is why we were able to go fast into clinical trial, because we had all the infrastructure, all the data, and all the learning from the previous experiences that we had.
Oh, that's great. And can you talk a little bit about how your technology priorities have now changed as a result of COVID-19 from your perspective as a digital leader?
Yeah, so for me, there are two aspects. Of course, we are moving forward with the clinical trial. We are in phase 3 for COVID vaccine. And what I can say, we focused here in this setting on being able to collect as much data from the clinical trial, so we can adjust and improve in real time. And we connected to the multiple databases and working with our CROs and our clinicians to understand what data we need to improve the clinical outcome, the quality of the clinical outcome, because this is what matters most. So this is one aspect in our priority that has shifted. The other aspect is, at the same time, we're working on scaling up manufacturing, we're working on scaling up our supply chain, and those activities are ongoing in parallel of really going through the clinical trials. So the whole landscape around us, from a systems, from a digital standpoint, from a data standpoint, has drastically changed with COVID coming in January.
No, that's great. And I think, as a result of this pandemic, we've had a lot of technology first. And one of the things I recently read is that Moderna is actually running one of the largest clinical trials ever to take data from patients in a virtualized manner. Can you explain a little bit about that project? And is that going to be kind of the standard for how we do clinical trials moving forward in your mind?
Yeah, so we are, as I said, we're collecting data real time. I mean, we need the data to understand how things are evolving in the clinic in real time. And I think this is a setting for the future. This is something that more and more companies need to work on, because it accelerates the pace of clinical trials. It improves the quality of the clinical trials, and it improves the build out of medicines in general. So I think this is the future, and I would say the important piece of it is the integration. So between the patient and us, you have multiple settings or multiple institutions that are involved. You have the sites where the patient or the healthy volunteers goes to. You have then In our case, some CROs that help us with the clinical trials management, and then you have us. And all this data should be fully integrated so you have real-time visibility to it, and you can make real-time decision making. So the key piece here is having the data integrated, and then once you have this, you can put the analytics, and the holy grail is AI on the analytics side.
No, that's great. Integration points are usually kind of one of the biggest sticking points, but also can be one of the biggest differentiators if you can get that interoperability between data points. I want to fast forward and to a time when a vaccine is developed. What do you foresee as being the biggest obstacles to mass adoption?
Yeah, I think there are two pieces. I would say the first piece is making sure that the supply chain is scaled and ready to deliver across the globe in the US, of course, but across the globe as well. So this is I think this is going to be the first big piece. But the second piece is about people and the trust they have in vaccines, and I think this is we're seeing more and more of this. And our role is to make sure that we go through all the steps and make sure that we have the highest quality from a vaccine standpoint. And when we go to the market, we have the full regulatory approvals and support to deliver to the populations.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think, as you mentioned, I would imagine supply chain has to be a critical area of focus for you. Making sure you have enough materials for that capacity, making sure you have the manufacturing output, and then also, the logistics and transportation to get the vaccines to where they need to be, right? Because they just can't be provided to everyone on day one. So I'm sure, is there a lot of time and investment that you're looking into that space right now?
Yeah, this is one of the key focus area for us, and we're not alone. I think everyone is focusing on this, and we're working with Operation Warp Speed because at the beginning it will be hand in hand with those government bodies that are helping with the distribution of the vaccines, and we need to be ready on our side and help them push this towards the patients or the healthy people that will get the vaccines. So absolutely, this is a highest priority at the moment.
Yeah, and it's great to see a lot of the collaboration we've seen between companies to help push this forward. Lastly, I want to touch upon is leadership and management. In a sense, you're operating in an environment like the Apollo mission. All eyes on the world are on you and other fellow companies who are trying to develop this vaccine. I'm sure that's exciting and energizing for a lot of employees, but also can probably cause some fatigue and burnout. So how do you manage such a high visibility, high pressure situation for you and your company and your constituents?
Yeah, and working remotely didn't help many of us, I would say. But yeah, absolutely. This has been a big challenge, and to be honest, everyone deal with it differently in the organization. On my side, what I do is I keep very close touch with my teams to make sure and see how they're feeling. I would say, if not on a daily basis, at least 2-3 times a week, we have lengthy discussion, whether on work or on how they are feelings and so on. But as well, making sure that you take maybe not time off, but you change the settings. In my case, I was able to go somewhere else and work from a different place, which helped drastically because you have a different environment from which you're working, and it helped you change the mindset you're in and overcome some of the fatigue that you have. But the excitement of the mission and really the energy that you see in the company is so high that keeps everyone motivated, and hopefully the fatigue will come when we finish this maybe, but we will have time to take off.
Or you'll be rewarded in a great way, right? If we can get to the end of this journey.
Absolutely.
This has been a fascinating discussion, Marcello. I want to thank you for your time and spending it with us here at Sapphire Ventures CIO Summit 2020.
What a profound and riveting conversation to conclude our 2020 CIO Summit with. Thank you again to Marcello from Moderna for sharing his perspectives on how technology will enable our global quest for a vaccine. And that brings us to the end of our 2020 Sapphire Ventures CIO Summit. A huge note of thanks to all of our speakers, in particular Christian Klein from SAP, Rob Enslin from Google Cloud, Jennifer Christie from Twitter, and Glenn Toulmin from Livongo Health, and so many others who came together to share their perspectives and advice on how we can all navigate this evolving next normal. I did want to call out that all of the content you viewed over the course of this week at the CIO Summit will be available for on-demand viewing shortly. So please feel free to share the content and your learnings with your network and your colleagues. I also want to express a huge note of gratitude for our sponsors, Silicon Valley Bank and SAP, who played an instrumental role in helping us transition this conference to a virtual experience this year. I hope all of you stay safe and healthy and positive over the course of the next year. And on behalf of the Sapphire Ventures team, we will look forward to seeing you again in 2021, hopefully in person. Thank you again for being a part of the dialogue.